heading for a hot springs. On the way to the hot springs, we notice a herd of wild horses, and there's an old mare, real heavy with foal. Looks like she's ready to have her colt any minute now. The wild horses, too, are loving this lush green grass that's everywhere out here. One of the best years I've seen out here for grass, and that'll feed this little harem up real good, and the mares ought to raise good, healthy colts. By evening, we arrive at the next hot springs, and Z wants to show you his new walking trick that he's just learned. He can walk around just like he's a people, and he'll do that for a bite of food.
She said that's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Hot springs we have arrived at is hot free. How about that? You couldn't beat that. Except the only problem we found there is a little chigger-like bug that walks on the surface of the water and he bites like a crocodile. He's so small you can barely see him, but he can walk on the surface of these hot springs. Since he walks on water, we figure he's his own prophet, and we call him prophet bugs.
Yeah, that's a neat little pool there. Oh.
The hot spring's hot and steamy and looks real inviting. So we'll forget about those prophet bugs and go ahead and get in. Chuck and I will take a walk up and look at the source. Many little hot springs bubble out of the ground, and then they all converge and run down this little creek-like place here. And the banks are just loaded with wild flowers who just love the steam of the hot springs and thrive in this environment. Those prophet bugs, we found that we all got a few bites from them, and the bites are 10 times worse than a mosquito bite, but they only last about a week. So here we are, we're in the springs, enjoying every minute of it as the steam rises from bog hot springs. Well, after we've had enough of this, we hook up our vehicles and head for the Albert Desert. We're going out and take a look at the desert and maybe do a little rock hunting out there. There's lots of thunder eggs and agates, so we're heading out.
Some Indian paintbrush just starting to come alive with blossoms.
The desert is alive with wild flowers. Every place we look, we see all the pretty colors of spring and a wet spring.
Yeah. It's the Great Basin gopher. Yeah, he's a good snake, isn't he?
I got him for you, Marge. Here. I'll bring him down. she's into that.
We made camp at the Alvord Desert, and now we're going to get on our four-wheelers and take a run up on the Steens Mountains. There's some old mines we want to look at up here, as well as we want to gather a few thunder eggs while we're up in the area. And there's thunder eggs in a lot of different areas here. We open the gate, go through, and away we go, on up on the Steens Mountains from here on. Higher and higher we climb up the Steens Mountain, leaving the Alvord Desert in the far background.
That's probably Dean.
There's a big fat snake laying across the road here. He's taken the advantage of the warm spring sunshine. The lupin was just blooming its head off up here, and it smelled like you'd stepped into a perfume bottle up here. As we reach the higher elevations, the arrowleaf balsa root is blooming really nicely up here. This is one of the things the Indians used a lot for food. We'll go in the mine now and look it over. I understand this is where they mine mercury from the earth here, out of the hard rock. The wildflowers even found a way to grow and to bloom right in the edge of the hard rock of this old mercury mine. Chuck will go down and look at some of the old equipment which has been abandoned here. It looks like that was something to extract the mercury from the rest of the rock. We can see the Albert Hot Springs far below us, and it looks like there's a lot of people using it right now. We picked Marge up on the way down. She wanted to stop part way up and pick up thunder eggs, so we have to go load her and her load of thunder eggs. She found one great huge one, put it in my pack, and I tried to pack it out, and it was too much, so we decided to lay it there and pick it up another time. The darn thing started rolling, and the last we knew, we heard it crashing down cliffs, and who knows where it landed. On the way down, we stopped at what's left of the old miner's shack here. We just invite ourselves in and look the place over. It's pretty much an open air shack. The whole backside is fallen out of it now. A few birds are nesting around here, and other than that, it's pretty darn quiet. Z looks out the open end of the shack out over the desert below. Marge found an old newspaper, so she has to read the news. The news may be just a little bit old, but it's still news. The old stove looks like it could still use a fire in it, and some swallows are building a nest right inside on one of the old beams there. There's wet mud there, so they must have been building it as we were coming up here. We jump on our four-wheelers and head back down. We need to go to the hot springs and clean some of our rock hunting dust off from us and stuff we picked up in the mine. So we're heading back down at a good clip now. lupin on the bench below us is growing in all different colors here. They're really nice and big this year, and just any color you might want. Marge sets down here where she can enjoy the aroma and the beauty of the place here before we go on back down. Going to be a full moon tonight, so we're checking the hot springs out, getting ready to get in. And there's nothing better than watching the sunset over the hot springs, and particularly when you can hear Indian drums and an Indian flute. We arrive at the hot springs to the music of Indian top. Now, Chuck and Stephanie have had to go home, so that leaves Marge and I to do the desert by ourselves as we travel over to look for blankets. We see a little harem of wild horses running into the wind here. It's a stallion, a mare, and a foal as near as we can tell. And they're really wild over in this area. They're sure taking off just like a wild animal. We look back across the Alvord Desert at the Steens Mountains, where we were the day before, way up on those mountains. Some American avocets are feeding around in the shallow waters of the Alvord Desert. Curlew stands guard in the upper areas just above the Alvord Desert. He looks around and makes himself right at home here. There are lots and lots of these, and they nest right in this area here. Carl, the old man of the desert, Mr. Alvord Desert himself, is here. He's got a flat tire on his motorcycle, so I'll pump it up for him, and he can go tearing across the desert as usual. He's only 87 years old and still loves to ride his motorcycle. Carl and I are going to make a run up on top of the bench here and look at the lupine in bloom. When we get up there, Carl's amazed by it. He said it smelled so good he could just lay down and go to sleep right there in the midst of the lupine. Up the hill we go, and we'll soon be to the site where we were heading. Carl sat down right in the midst of the lupine patch and said he was just about to go to sleep because it smelled so good up there, with the gentle breeze of the Alvord Desert blowing across our faces. Yeah.
Yeah? deserve it after that ride this morning.